I want to see all the components that are in there, basically getting down to the insulation level. I want to see my insulation, I want to see my gypsum, I want to see my stud, I want to see my exterior sheathing. You can get to that level of accuracy with this. So as you're working with Revit, that's something you've just got to pay attention to, because as you're working now, we're really working in a virtual model. Okay, so we just have to be aware of that as you're going forward. So hopefully that made some sense as you guys begin to work on that. Now, having gone through that, I did want to talk about Chapter 5, because getting into Chapter 5, as we get into here now, this is what we're going to break into now, putting in doors and windows. And we want to talk about how those work, because now we're going to talk about families and how families are created and how to create a window or an object that doesn't right now exist. So in this case, inserting doors and windows, you would go ahead and you tell AutoCAD you want to insert a certain door or window type. In this case, this is called a double glass window right here. And down here, you see that there's single flush, and there's these different dimensions right here. Now, as we take a look, let's just go through some real basics right now. As we take a look at this right now, a single flush door, what would that mean? A single flush door, what would that be as opposed to something else? What were we talking about? Crickets, all right. Well, essentially what it's talking about is a single door that's flush, and it would be different than, let's say, this door. This door right here has glass, okay? It's got glass. It's actually a see-through door. It's a more expensive door. It's not just a slab. Okay, so here you've got this kind of a single flush door. Okay, it's got dimensions right here. You've got, this particular one is 30 inches by 84 inches. 84 inches means it's 7 feet tall. 7 feet tall tends to be more the standard in commercial. In a house, anyone know what the height of a door would be typically in a house? 80 inches is typically what it is. All right, and you'll see that then Revit, it's got it right here, 30 inches by 80 inches. So you've got both that are accommodated, and basically, and the thing is, now these are not, necessarily never, they're not necessarily standards that are never violated, but for the most part, that's what you're going to have. You got 30 inches by 84 inches. Now, so as you're working with this, as you're putting doors into your project, there will be times that the content in Revit will not have everything that you need. So in that case, you can load up new content. And Revit has a lot of content out there. So if you don't have what you need, you can go ahead and insert it. Now, if it's still not there, you got to make it. All right, but it's really easy to make it. Okay, we're going to see how to make that. So making doors, making windows, making other objects. Question? I'm sorry? Yes, yes. Okay, all right. The question is, how do you download stuff from Revit City? Has anyone got to that point yet, where they've actually got there? All right, we'll take a look at that. Revit City is essentially a library of Revit parts. I actually was out there today, pulling some content down for the template we're working on right now. And Revit City has a lot of content that is basically legitimate Revit content. So if it doesn't exist in Revit, somebody else has put it together. And people just upload into this community. So there's all this free content out there. I'll show you how to do that, okay? It's pretty straightforward. But if you do not have it in your project, you've got to make it. So what that means is you go ahead and you say, okay, Revit, I am looking at a need right now. My need is I need a single flush door that is 28 inches by 80 inches. Therefore, that doesn't exist, so I got to make one. So what you do is you duplicate an existing one and change its parameters so it reflects what you need. Then at that point, you can insert it in your drawing. Okay, that's how you go ahead and do that. It's really quite straightforward to do, but we just got to know what we're looking at right now. So doors and windows. Okay, so we will have to make some doors tonight that are custom. That's going to be part of what we're going to be working on tonight. Okay, and then continuing on here. So windows and doors. Here it's talking about the windows right now. Windows. Well, actually, I guess it is a door right here. So modifying doors and windows, once you put them in, you can actually change their location by using the temporary dimensions. And this right here is going to be how it measures both doors and windows by default, which is by, what's this called right here? What would that be known as? What's that?
Midpoint.
Okay, what's that, the midpoint or the center line? Okay, the center line of doors. Okay, very often what happens is when doors go into and windows go into a structure, you guys have seen construction documents, very often the window is called out to be located by its center line, not by the sides. Sometimes you will see the dimension from side to side, but usually the default is going to be center line. Okay, does that make sense? So what happens is it's going to say, okay, this 3-foot door is going to be exactly 7 feet off the edge. The center of it's going to be exactly 7 feet off the edge. So that means whoever is building goes in, marks that position, and cuts a hole in the wall right at that point right there. And so if it's a 3-foot door, you go 18 inches in one direction, 18 inches the other, and go up and you cut that out. Okay, so that's to make a very, very basic thing. The next thing that we've got here are what are called tags. Okay, now a window tag is what you see right here. This window tag is this kind of a hexagon type shape, and it's got a number. That would actually be a window. That's a hex tag. And this right here is kind of an oval or an ellipse, and that's a door tag. So why would we need tags? What would be one of the benefits of tagging doors?
When you go to order them?
When you go to order them, very good. Okay, when you go to order them is one thing. Now, in a set of construction documents, you guys all see construction documents, all right? And if your different objects do have tags on them, where would they show up? What would it be called? What would the sheet be called? Yes, a schedule. A schedule. What will happen is all of the doors and all the windows would then be listed out on a particular sheet, and you'd have them in what's called a schedule. And what that would give us then is essentially a listing of how many of a particular kind of door we need. So that means if we needed, like, when I was working, I should have brought the file in. I told you about the job that I did in New York City, where we did 1.1 million square feet, and on each floor there were like 800 doors, each floor. And there were 11 floors, and so we had to do, we put each one of them in. We got them all right in where they're supposed to go. It was insane. Anyway, so we did that. So at the end of that, we were just documenting what was there, and we could actually go in then and say, okay, how many left-hand swing doors do we have that are 36 inches? And you can actually query the database and tell you exactly how many there are, and it'd tell you where they're at. Pretty cool. Now, when you were actually building the structure, they started off with a listing of all the doors and all of the required doors they need. So this meant that there was this listing, a schedule that would basically listed these standard doors by the hundreds, by the thousands actually in this particular structure. It was insane how many doors were in this whole thing. But your schedule is what allows you to track your costs and track the locations and actually build this whole thing. So that's why schedules are so important. So that's what these tags do. In Revit, the tags actually tie into a database element so you can actually get cost information and numbers. Pretty cool stuff. Okay, you guys are paying attention.